The Frog Princess. Long ago it was time for the king's youngest son to marry. The king said, "Shoot this arrow and you will meet your wife where it lands." But the prince's arrow landed in a swamp beside a frog. Young Prince Ivan was not happy. "How can I marry a frog?" he asked. But the king wouldn't change his mind. So the prince married the frog, and they lived in a castle next to the swamp. The king was getting old, and he was thinking about which son to give his palace to. One day he set a test and asked his sons to bring their wives to the palace. Prince Ivan was worried. He didn't want people to laugh at his frog princess, but his wife said, "Don't worry, everything will be fine." That night, when the prince went to bed, he pretended to fall asleep, opened one eye, and saw his wife take off her frog skin and change into a young lady. She was so beautiful that he fell in love with her at once. The next morning the prince said nothing to his wife about what he'd seen. He went to the palace alone and saw that his brothers were there with their grand wives. Suddenly the palace doors opened and the most beautiful princess walked in. Prince Ivan said to the king, "This is my dear frog princess." Prince Ivan felt sure that the king would give his palace to him. To make sure, he ran home and threw his wife's frog skin into the fire. At this there was a clap of thunder, and his wife stood before him. "Why did you burn my frog skin?" she cried. "Now I must leave you forever." Then she disappeared. Prince Ivan set off to find his wife. On his way he met an old man who gave him a ball. "Roll this ball and it will show you the way," said the man. Next the prince met a bear, which he was going to kill and eat, but the bear begged the prince to let it live. The prince felt sorry for the bear, so he agreed, and they set off together after the ball. Then a duck flew overhead, and the prince took aim with a bow and arrow, but the duck begged the prince to let it live. The prince took pity on the duck too, and set off after the ball with the bear and the duck. After a while the prince and his friends came to a river. A fish leapt out of the water onto the bank. "At last I shall have a good meal," said the prince, but the fish begged to be thrown back into the water. The prince felt sorry for the fish, so he did as it asked. A little further on the prince met an old woman. She told him that the witch had taken his wife prisoner, and that he must get a special needle to kill the witch and free his wife. This needle was inside an egg that was in a nest on top of a tree. The prince and his friends set off to look for the tree, which they found quite easily. However, the trunk of the tree was so smooth that when Prince Ivan tried to climb it, he kept slipping down. The bear said, "I can help you," and he shook the tree so hard that the nest fell from its branches. But there was a bird sitting on the nest, and it flew off with the egg grasped in its feet. Then the duck said, "I can help you," and it flew after the bird. The bird was so scared of the duck that it dropped the egg into the river below. The prince cried, "My wife is lost forever, for how can I get the egg from the river?" Suddenly the fish that the prince had thrown back into the river appeared. It had the egg in its mouth as it swam to the prince. The prince quickly broke the egg and took out the needle. At this a witch suddenly appeared and ran towards the prince, but he drove the needle into her heart and killed her. With the witch dead, the spell was broken and the frog princess was free. Prince Ivan went home to find his beautiful wife had returned, and that the king had built them a palace of their own, which was nowhere near the swamp. The end.